All right, so for the news today, there's actually just two things I want to talk about that are very interesting. There is this guy, Jordan Harbinger, is a real famous podcaster, and he has these interviews with all kinds of interesting people, and he has one today interviewing Mark Andreessen, who is a venture capitalist. He's very famous. He helped make the Mosaic browser and the internet in the very early days, in the web, and he is a huge booster of new tech. A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz, is one of the main venture capital companies, and they are the ones that take the biggest risks in cryptocurrency and everything else. They invest in all the really hot new stuff. And so he thinks AI is wonderful and it's going to do great things and going to change the world, and he doesn't think the government should be restricting it or regulating it or anything. You can always expect that from these tech booster guys. So it's a very interesting article, a very interesting podcast. They talk about the reason why the government wants to regulate it and why they're worried, and his explanation is pretty interesting. He says, for example, there's the song John Henry. John Henry there were these people who worked on the railroads who dug these holes in the ground to plant the dynamite to blast away mountains and lay the tracks and such, and they brought in an automatic steam machine to do that, and the manual laborers that had this job were very upset they were going to lose their job because of the steam machine. And this has been true of every technological improvement, his argument, which I think is backed up, is there is a period of adjustment when people have to learn new trades, but in the long run, all these technological things produce more jobs. And you can consider, when I was a child, there were no computers, no word processors. Everybody had to type with manual typewriters. And when word processors came out, people could create written documents much faster, and the end result was not that we fired 90% of the people typing, but that everybody just expected to produce much more written content. So now you have more people typing on computers all day than you ever had typing on typewriters in the old days. So and that's an example of what he claims is the general rule, that new technology creates more jobs than it destroys. But one thing he said that I thought was very interesting was that the government regulators are completely crazy, and he told me about this article, which I missed. Time magazine in March had this article, and according to Mark Andreessen, the people in Washington, the legislators, really pay attention to articles like this, which I imagine is true. I mean, this is a pretty prominent place, and your non-technical legislators look at it and say this is because of Elon Musk's letter that he signed saying we should pause development for 6 months. This is a response. This guy said pausing is not enough. We need to shut it all down immediately. And this guy's article, Eliezer Yudkowsky, his idea is that we might have artificial general intelligence that'll be like the Terminator and wipe us out, and which is also what Elon Musk was worried about. And therefore, since that's an existential threat to destroy the whole human race, we have to stop it. And he really says, if another nation was to have an unregulated AI, we should bomb it, even if it starts a nuclear war. So if China has AI, we need to bomb it and save the human race from the Terminator, and that's more important than even the risk of a nuclear war. So this is all complete raving nonsense. And Mark Andreessen, I think, made a very interesting, strong case where he said, you're worried about AI hurting people, and it's not the AI hurting people, it's people hurting people. This is sort of like the people that argue about gun control. I mean, the point is, the AI has no intention and no goals. The AI just does what people tell it to do. And I think all the people that understand machine learning see this. The machine learning is not independently self-willed and self-motivated and marching around with its own goals. It's all just doing what we tell it to do. And certainly humans will use AI to hurt people. We're already doing that, putting facial recognition everywhere and spying on people and cars and, writing spam and malware with the AI and all that. That, certainly be used for evil, but it's not the AI doing it, it's the people using it as a tool. Anyway, it's a very interesting argument, and I think this represents the two sides. Here's the paranoid side, and he said we have to limit AI. We have to make sure that every AI has a monitoring chip from the government to make sure the government knows everything you're doing and they can shut you down if they don't like it, which is an idea that has come up over and over again. There was a thing called the Clipper chip that was supposed to be installed in every computer. Like 20 years ago, the government wanted to put it in every computer so they could spy on what every computer was doing and decide if they didn't like it. And that didn't happen, although China is the society where that sort of thing happens more. I mean, they really are silencing sources of news they don't like and such, but even there, they don't know everything everybody's doing is to this extent, but more than they do here. Anyway, it's an interesting article. There's two different sides of the argument there, and that's, yeah. AI is what?
It's not self-learning yet.
That's right. It's not self-learning and it's not intelligence. It's not artificial general intelligence. What we have is machine learning that can learn from examples without being programmed. It can do learning.
It's just probability.
Well, yeah, it's probability, yeah, but it can analyze something and find the pattern and create a mathematical extrapolation. So it can do curve fitting, which is like probability. Yeah, you know, they can do pretty amazing things with it, as we talk about all the time, but I don't think it represents an existential risk to the human race. And that is the argument that the more extreme limiters